The fall of our elites and the rise of the new. During history, a cyclic view on various phenomena has been very common. Our Indo-European ancestors believed that history moves through the yugas or the eras, going from the Golden Age to the Iron Age, and then back to the Golden Age after some sort of catalysm or final war. Civilizations have been viewed as living entities as well, going through the stage of birth, youth, senility, and finally death. And the same perspectives can be found in political sociology concerning the rise and fall or birth and death of its elites. The area is interesting for two reasons. One, is the current elite on the final stage and soon to die? Have it lost all its virtues, both intellectual and moral? I think so, and in that case it will soon be replaced by a new elite, and that will either be Muslim or nationalists. We will start with the North African scholar Ibn Khaldun, 1332 to 1406. Khaldun is known for his use of the concept group solidarity and his description of cycles of conquest and decay. At first, there is the Bedouins or nomads with a strong group solidarity. These then conquer the weaker city dwellers and instate their own dynasty. But given time, the dynasty loses its group solidarity and is corrupted by power and luxury. As Oswald Spengler would have put it, it has become a civilization. And then a new wave of nomads conquer again. It can easily be argued that the current West has lost group solidarity, both on a national, a pan-national, and on a local level, and that this has enabled various strangers to invade and immigrate. It can also be argued, however, that group solidarity is reborn among the inner barbarians, the nationalists, who will replace the corrupted elite. Nationalist or Muslim newcomers is an open question to be decided by action. I will present more on Ibn Khaldun. In the information box there's a link that you can check out and read more from him or about him. A good introduction. It has a definition on the concept of group solidarity. The state of mind that makes individuals identify with a group and subordinate their own personal interests to the group interests. Without willingness to subordinate self to the group, peace and social development are not possible. Ibn Khaldun expects the sense of solidarity to be based originally and normally on kinship. A sense of solidarity can be powerful, supported by religion, and conversely, no religion can make an impact unless its members have a strong sense of solidarity. Claims that Khaldun came up with the labor theory of value before Adam Smith can be seen in the information box. I will provide a link. And then there's also an in-depth introduction to this. Also put a link to that in the information box. Machiavelli and the concept of virtue. Italian thinker and diplomat Niccolò Machiavelli, 1469 to 1527, wrote along similar themes as Khaldun. Today he is best known for The Prince, in which he gave various advice based on realpolitik and stripped from morality to leaders of state. But Machiavelli also wrote the work Discorsi, in which he comments upon the history of the early Rome. In that book he is a republican. The most important value for Machiavelli is virtue, Latin virtus, which is related to our word virtue. Machiavelli means it's more in its Latin sense of manly, but individuals with virtue are primarily marked by their ability to enforce their will on volatile social situations. They do this through a combination of strong will, strength, and brilliant and strategic calculation. His thesis is that what made early Rome so strong and expansive was the virtue of the people, a people who took active part in the state. Conflicts make a people strong, in that they keep the qualities of virtue alive. It should be added that some of the classic virtues are not central to Machiavelli, among them honesty. It can be argued that the modern West has lost the quality of virtue. The people is no longer really part of the state. They are instead ruled by a political elite that is not even of their own blood. As a result, virtue has abandoned them, and instead of expansive and manly individuals, we have a mass of pacified, cowardly, metrosexual, obese consumers. And to also use the more blunt word, we've been pussified. Urban Dictionary, to be bitch slapped down, the proverbial ladder of respect to the point where one becomes a pussy. With the erosion of security and welfare, virtue is, however, reborn. Vilfredo Pareto, 1848 to 1923, was an Italian aristocrat, economist, sociologist, and socialist, eventually turned conservative. He was therefore celebrated as a source of inspiration by the Italian fascists, and did not seem to mind. Pareto used his time at Seligny to write his Trattato di Sociologia Generale, which was finally published after wartime delays in 1916. This was his great sociological masterpiece. He explains how human action can be neatly reduced to residue and derivation. People act on the basis of non-logical sentiments, residues, and invent justifications for them afterwards, derivations. The derivation is thus just the content and form of the ideology itself, but the residues are the real underlying problem, the particular cause of the squabbles that leads to the circulation of elites. The underlying residue, he thought, was the only proper object of sociological inquiry. Residues are non-logical sentiments rooted in the basic aspirations and drives of people. He identifies 6 classes of residues, all of which are present but unevenly distributed across people. So the population is always a heterogeneous, differentiated mass of different psychic types. The most important residues are Class 1, the instinct for combining, innovation, and Class 2, the persistence of aggregates, conservation. Class 1 types rule by will and are calculating, materialistic, and innovating. Class 2 types rule by force and are more bureaucratic, idealistic, and conservative. Pareto's theory of society claimed that there was a tendency to return to an equilibrium where a balanced amount of Class 1 and Class 2 people are present in the governing elites. People are always entering and leaving the elite, thereby tending to restore the natural balance. On occasion, when it gets too lopsided, an elite will be replaced by another. If there are too many Class 1 people in a governing elite, this means that violent conservative Class 2s are in the lower echelons, itching and capable of taking power when the Class 1s finally make a mess of things by too much cunning and corruption. He regarded Napoleon III's France and the Italian plutodemocratic system as an example. If the governing elite is composed mostly of Class 2 types, then it will fall into a bureaucratic, insufficient, and reactionary mess, easy prey for calculating, upwardly mobile Class 1s, e.g. Tsarist Russia. The current situation can probably be described as an example of a Class 1 Pluto-democratic elite, corrupted but desperately trying to hold on to power, but threatened by Class 2 elites to be from all directions. Probably the current elite started as Class 2, being more idealistic, but since lost that quality. I will present more on Pareto in the information box, and also Pareto's rule states that 20% of the population usually owns 80% of the wealth, and apparently it is often true. Again, I will post a link to that in the information box. So there you go, friends and subscribers. Ibn Khaldun, Machiavelli, Pareto, who else? Yeah.